by Russia continue, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has talked to his allies. Now, according to German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, he has briefed the European Union, NATO and European leaders who gave him their full support. He also talked to Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Mark Carney said that the latest Russian attack underscored the need to stand by Ukraine. Zelenskyy says, and I quote, "We are speaking with our friends from Europe. I am grateful for all the support for Ukraine, especially the support for air defense. Russia keeps tormenting our cities and our people. Moscow has turned down even the proposals for a Christmas ceasefire and is intensifying the brutality of its missile and drone strikes. This is a clear signal of how they truly regard diplomacy here." Russia, meanwhile, has accused Ukraine and its European backers of trying to torpedo a previous US brokered plan to stop the fighting, threatening continued attacks by the military. Well, Aditya, we're seeing that, of course, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is speaking to his European allies. He's also spoken to the Canadian Prime Minister and accused Russia of trying to torpedo this ceasefire attempt, the US-backed ceasefire attempt, and has stated that, they're just instead continuing to intensify the attacks on Ukraine. Take us through what European allies have stated, how they've supported Ukraine, and what exactly Zelenskyy is also now accusing Russia of.
Now the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is trying to, muster as much as international support for him, just prior to his meeting with the US President Donald Trump. And definitely, there are several NATO countries and, countries like Germany, France, which have, and UK, which have been completely supporting Ukraine, and they have been saying, if you see the statements, past statements of British PM Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and other, and French President Emmanuel Macron, they have said repeatedly that they are willing to support Ukraine, and if the need be, they will also provide the military assistance if necessary. So indeed, these statements have time and again come from these European leaders. However, nobody, no European countries actually at this juncture practically, militarily helping Ukraine at this juncture because, Volodymyr Zelenskyy is continuously holding talks with his European counterparts and NATO counterparts. However, still at this juncture, there remains, a mistrust, at this juncture, there is not a very Volodymyr Zelenskyy is still hopeful that, he might get a full, more unwavering support from the European side. However, from here on, it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario, because considering the fact that, definitely after post this Russian attack on Kyiv, Ukraine is expected to retaliate in its own way. And we have seen some time back, the Russian army general, one of the most top celebrated Russian army journalists, army general was, assassinated in Moscow. And at that juncture, also the Kremlin, had pointed fingers at the Ukrainian spy agencies. So indeed, rather than these wars, the war between Russia and Ukraine stopping, the major escalation is increasing day by day. Day by day, the escalation is unfolding between Russia and Ukraine, and at this juncture, it needs to be seen, how things unfold going forward in this scenario. Whether there could be a significant decision done on Russia, when Trump meets Volodymyr Zelenskyy, it needs to be seen how things unfold in this scenario. Malvika.
Well, Aditya, thank you so much for joining us with all of those updates. Meanwhile, viewers, that's a wrap for this bulletin. We'll slip into a very short break.